I wanna be with the walls that first seems to ignore, that makes me nobody approved. Good old school rock runs in my veins, steadfast, won't ever change. Good old school rock runs in my veins, steadfast, won't ever change. I never fit with the clique, a negative critique. I guess I'm nobody approved. I never made to decide, guitar rock satisfied. You know I'm nobody approved. Good old school rock runs in my veins, steadfast, won't ever change. Good old school rock runs in my veins, steadfast, won't ever change. And I can feel when I'm not welcome, no shedding a tear. The thought of a loop rejected in my territory. I show the cold living an iceberg rolling around and around and around and around and around. Nobody approved. And nobody, no, nobody, nobody, nobody approved. I'm nobody, no, nobody, I'm nobody, nobody approved. I'm nobody, no, nobody, I'm nobody, nobody approved.
That is no. Oh, I've got no microphone. Hang on a second. We'll have to switch this up. Just hold on a second. Hold on a second here. Just give me a minute. I did not open up my audio tonight. So that's why we got a bit of a problem here. So let's just go to recording settings and broadcast and go there. There we go. All right. So now we probably got some audio now happening. Sorry about that. A little bit of a switch up tonight. And I'm going to just correct a couple of quick things here and make sure that I've got the right snapshot loaded for my broadcast. And bear with me a second here while I get my shit together. On the recording settings side of things. And here it is right here. Playback. There it is. All right. I think that's better. I don't know. We'll see if that works out well. Let me know if you can hear the audio really good. It's good to know that because I want to make sure that, tonight's show is well heard. We're going to talk about AI tonight, some stuff that's going on in the world of AI, some stuff I recently discovered, some stuff that's been out there. And I think it's really important that we talk about it. So without further ado, I'm going to remove this this source here. So that video you watched tonight, some of it is AI generated. That is my wicked twin. that just recently came out called Nobody Approved, Brent Turner and Company. Hopefully Brent's watching tonight. Maybe he isn't. If you can go on over to the chat room, get some people to join us here, and we'll talk about some stuff that's going on in the world of AI. So there's some stuff that's been happening, and some stuff I want to share tonight. So if you don't get a chance to watch the show tonight, well, watch it a little bit later. I'm going to share a photograph in a second here. And hopefully this lets me share it. It's been a while since I've done this. Where is it? I got to find out which one it's on. No, it's not that one there. It's that one. See, AI generated. And AI generated music is what we're going to talk about tonight. And I'm going to try and get to this this photograph for you so you can actually see it. Here it is right here. I'm going to share that with you so you can actually see that. So what we got up there is an AI generated photograph. This is of a so-called artist, and AI generated. So this is something I discovered online. It was in the Guardian. It came out, I got to take a look at the date on it. July the 14th of this year. An AI generated band got 1 million plays on Spotify. Now music insiders say listeners should be warned. Well, we want to definitely get everybody's thoughts on this tonight. Okay, so AI music, is it ruining music as we know it? Go over to the chat room or make some comments on the screen. Happy to entertain those tonight. Certainly want to talk about this and a whole lot more stuff that's really kind of gone awry in the world of AI. Now, you'll notice that the video we watched tonight, I'm going to switch back over here now and switch back over to my screen if I can. It lets me stop sharing it. There we go. So that is an AI generated band. They were called the Velvet Sundown. They released 2 albums before admitting their music images and backstory were created by AI. So, is this deception at its worst? Is this one of the bad examples of how AI can be used? Now, I saw AI being used in the video that Brent created for Nobody Approved. And I think that he used the AI because AI images are not necessarily subject to copyright laws per se in terms of being able to do video creation. So there's one thing using AI to help tell the story. That supposedly was the reason AI was conceived in the first place, is that it could enhance what we do and help make our lives better, but not take away the creative aspects. In fact, AI was created to allow us to have more time for creativity, but instead people are using AI to make stuff, which is music. Now, I did some deep diving on this, and I want you guys to make some comments. If you have a comment to make, please, by all means, share them on Facebook, share them wherever you're watching tonight's show. But this whole AI generation and this band went viral. So they're not even a real band. They're created by AI. So is this deception at its worst when it comes to the music industry? Is this purposely deceiving the listener into thinking this is something real when they never disclose that, this particular band, and they gave them a name, and they went so far as to give them a name. This is public consumption. If you go to the Guardian and you look it up, and it says an AI generated band got 1 million plays on Spotify. Now music insiders say listeners should be warned. So, you can copy this. I'm going to put it in the chat. If anybody's over there, you can take a look at it there. I'm going to pop it in there. And there it is right there. An AI-generated band got 1 million plays on Spotify. Now music insiders say listeners should be warned. So this is out there. You can Google search that, and this article should pop up from The Guardian. The episode has triggered a debate about authenticity, with the music industry insiders saying streaming sites should be legally obliged to tag their music created by AI generated acts so consumers can make informed decisions about what they're listening to. So I've listened to some of this, and some of it is pretty damn good compared to, people who actually go about it the correct way and create it in the first place. And what worries me is that you've got people with virtually no musical talent whatsoever. They might have an idea about what they want to hear, what somebody else might want to hear, but they've never put the time or effort into learning a craft, learning an instrument, knowing how hard it is to work as a musician and how rewarding it is to get people to listen to the music that you create. So there's a really cool thing there, right? That's happening with music when it's created in what I would call a purist form, in terms of that means that people are going into the studio, they're recording, right? And they're laying down tracks of music that they've painstakingly spent recording and rehearsing over and over again and going over different parts of the song to make sure it's just the way that they want it. So it worries me that, we don't have to give disclaimers. I think there should be disclaimers on music these days because, and this is just a personal opinion about it, is that it can be deceiving to the listener. They may think they're listening to something real. They may think it's a real band they can engage it with. And meanwhile, it's not. It's an AI entity. So the question is, can you bond with an AI entity the same use you can bond with an actual flesh and blood artist? So there's another argument there. And if you're in the chat room, I'd love to hear what you got to say about this, because I think it's a really important thing, that should be examined very closely. So what do you think about that? Do you have thoughts about AI generated music? And are you concerned that, something may be so good or sounds so good, and then you want to engage with it only to find out that this is not a flesh and blood artist, someone with heart and a soul, to pour out music to? It's coming through someone else. Now, maybe there is, I'm not saying there's not room for AI created music, but I think it should be disclosed that it's AI created music. And it's really an interpretation, maybe through the eyes and the ears of the person that's creating it. However, AI can be taught on a lot of different levels. So, a person creating the AI can just be coaching the AI to give it a hit song. And then it might give some more coaching methods to say, I want this hit song to sound like, right? And they'll name certain bands. And some of these bands, these artists, are compared to some of these existing artists out there. I think Crosby, Stills, and Nash was mentioned as a comparator to this particular band. They're called the Velvet Sundown. If you don't believe me, go to Spotify and then go and try and Google search them and find out if they're freaking real people. because I can't find a trace of it. And of course, now it's been admitted to a journal that that this is not necessarily a hoax, but it's deception, because they promoted themselves as a real flesh and blood band when in fact they weren't. 2 albums. Now, when I went to do this, there's a whole bunch of other artists that pop up in the suggestions. So if you guys, any of you listen to music on Spotify, you'll know that in Spotify, there's this whole section there where sounds like it'll give you recommendations for music, right? So there's this whole thing going on in terms of these recommendations. So those are algorithmic recommendations that come as a result of something that you might have stumbled upon or listened to. So artist discovery in Spotify, these are things we discussed in the past, that there are 3 things in Spotify that are big for artists that are going to publish their music digitally. And that is reach, discovery, and engagement. And that whole discovery and reach thing can come a couple of different ways because of being able to publish on so many different platforms. On behalf of our artists, it gives them tremendously much more reach into the world, so that their music can be discovered, right? So which comes first, discovery or reach? Well, sometimes it's discovery, because if your music gets listed in an algorithmic playlist, for example, it's going to come up as a suggestion to anyone that's listening to music that sounds similar to this particular track that's been created. That's one of the algorithms within Spotify. And it's actually pretty ingenious, because what it does is they're using AI to learn your listening habits so that they can make suggestions to better enhance your experience on the platform. They don't want you just listening to the same stuff over and over again. They want you to discover new music. And that's what part of the algorithms on Spotify are about. It's about helping you to discover something new that maybe you never listened to before, but fits your listening profile. And if you don't believe that Spotify has got AI learning your behavior on there, well, yeah, I got some swampland I want to sell you. So, there is a whole AI thing that's occurring in many different waves that is impacting music, whether that's independent music or mainstream music. It's an impact nevertheless. And I think what's going to happen is that we're going to see more AI music popping up in the algorithms if people start listening to it. And the thing about AI music, when I looked at some of these, again, there's suspicious actors out there. I'm going to give you some names to look up, and you can try and Google search them and try and find the artists. I can't find them on social media. I can't find them through Google searches. Wikipedia isn't giving me any real answers about that either. So there's something very suspicious about these names out there. And if they're real, I'd like to hear that they're actually real. But there's a lot of evidence out there to suggest that there are a lot of fictitious bands or artists being created by AI. So, I started to do a bit of a deep dive, and then you start looking at faces. So there's a band called Motel Flame. That's right, Motel, Flame. Go and search them out, see what you find, and you can always come back to this broadcast and post your comments to what you think about it. Because there's some real, I don't know, weird stuff going on as far as I'm concerned in the world of AI that I think is, really impacting what we're seeing happening. So I don't know. The whole AI debate for me, the whole AI thing for me is creating a lot of questions in my mind, and I'm hoping in your mind as well. Like, I'm not, I'm not trying to make light of AI, and I believe that there is a place for AI, but are AI disclosures a necessary thing? Should they be? And I want to hear people's comments about that. So even if you don't make a comment to the show night or you watch this episode, please comment, down there and let me know what you think about AI. Does it have a place in music creation? Is it real music creation? What is it? How does it work? Right? What are the potential implications of it? And that worries me, somewhat, as someone who goes the long way to create music. So those of you that are musicians that spent years honing your craft, learning, your instrument really, really well, and now something is on the same playing field as you without having to disclaim that it's artificially created. So again, what are people's thoughts? What are people's ideas about this? Because I think there is a place for AI, but I think, again, disclosures are necessary for certain creative aspects, especially when it's being used to make the music in the first place. So, I think there's conditions or terms that should be met in order for that to happen. I'm going to keep switching this up because that might sound better. Hopefully it does. So if you haven't been on the chat room, check the chat room out and comment about this. We're talking about AI and its impact on music and what's happening. And I've discovered several artists on here. And so the interesting thing is, we talked about this one band that's on here. Again, it's in The Guardian. It's from an article posted July 14th, 2025. And it talks about an AI-generated band getting 1 million plays on Spotify. Now, music insiders say listeners should be warned. So that's sort of one of the ethical questions we're asking here tonight. And the Velvet Sundown, and this is the subheading here, the Velvet Sundown released 2 albums before admitting their music images and backstory were created by AI. So eventually they owned up to the fact that they were an artificially created artist. So, question about that, right? Yeah. Dembo says it's a bit over my pay grade. I don't know why it's not showing in the chat room tonight. I can't find anything in there. So I'm not sure what's happening with the chat and why the chat room is not loading tonight. And I'm really sorry for that. I'm not sure. Yeah, there they are right there, but there are no comments. I'll put my comment up there. So I'm not sure I'm going to get it here on Facebook. So I'm going to have to just like quickly look at the Facebook feed to see what people are posting. So Dean Bo says it's a bit over my pay grade as I have a tough time just understanding simple things about music. True. I agree. We need someone to step up and explain if we are buying music, how to simply find out, ask the bands on their website. Well, that would be one way, but I think if there's a mandatory disclosure, you don't even have to ask that question, right? It really just sort of answers the question that what you're listening to, because the way that you're going to engage with an AI artist, I would propose, is going to be different than the way that you engage with an actual flesh and blood artist. So again, it's another ethical argument about AI generated music, and does it have a place in the world of music? Should it be up alongside artists who, painstakingly learned their craft, learned their instrument, got to the point where they felt confident enough to go in the studio and record, went through the whole recording process, including rough mixes and mix downs and all that stuff, and then, getting their tracks mastered. And then somebody can walk in and with AI and go ching, 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 ching on their computer, and they've written a song, something that took literally years of time and effort for a flesh and blood artist to perfect to the point where they felt confident enough. Now I want to record my music, or they find themselves in that situation where now they should record their music. Maybe they never have, but it's always been, part of a live performance. You know, there are a lot of reasons why those things don't happen in the flesh and blood world. But if someone can sit down behind a computer, and here's the interesting thing, I'm seeing music pumped out at nauseum, 3 albums in 1 year. Who does that? Name me one artist that's put out 3 albums in 1 year. And I've seen examples of it here. Okay. It's interesting that the faces of this band called the Velvet Sundown, go to the Velvet Sundown on Spotify if you don't believe me, and you'll see how many followers they got on there. They have 618,667 monthly listeners, and they're not even a flesh and blood artist. So there is a problem in terms of those numbers because they're getting a lot of engagement. But is that engagement because people now know that they're an AI band? Or is it because of what happened previously? Are we still seeing the bump from people still thinking that these guys are the real deal? Because I don't see any disclaimer on Spotify saying that they're an AI generated band when in fact they've already admitted, according to this Guardian article, that they are an AI generated entity. So there is a point of deception. Do you want to be deceived by people that pretend to be musicians but really aren't? There's a huge argument there to be had, and I'm not sure why I'm not getting people in the chat room, and I'm really, really sorry. It's frustrating for me tonight that I'm not able to respond to you. So if you're on Facebook, you can put your questions there. I'm not able to respond to anything on here tonight. And so you can send me a message in Facebook if there's something you want me to address as we talk about AI. But there's a whole lot of questions to me that AI brings to motion. So I'm just trying to think why people would go to this effort. Maybe it is a creative effort, but the question is it still used to deceive people? So is AI being used in this instance to deceive listeners? And, it does beg a question. Here's an interesting thing. There's another band out there. They're called Motel Flame. And their images look very AI generated. Again, Google search them, Motel Flame. Go Google search them and see if you can find anybody. If you go to their Spotify, there's names of composers and lyricists, but I cannot find any evidence of these guys on the internet. So I'm just left to wonder, what is this that I'm listening to? It's pretty good music, but I don't know if I'm listening to the real deal, produced by real flesh and blood characters, or whether I'm listening to something that was generated on someone's computer. And it's a completely different skill set, right? Think about it. Somebody that can produce 3 albums a year on a computer versus someone that has to hone their craft over all that time. Sometimes, 3 albums sometimes takes 3 years if you're doing an album a year. And for touring bands, that's pretty ambitious considering that most of your life is lived on the road and you don't have time to get in the studio to record. So you're lucky to get 1 album done a year. But imagine an artist who's putting out 3 albums a year. Oh, that's 4. 3 albums a year. So you got a so-called artist out there who's putting out 3 albums a year. Who does that? Who does that? I'm not sure. How does that happen? Who actually does that? I don't know of any band that's ever put out 4 albums in a year. So, or any real flesh and blood artist for that matter. We're talking a minimum of 30 tracks here. That's a lot of writing. That's a lot of perfecting. That's a lot of time invested in getting that song ready to go into the studio, right? And when people are paying good dollars for studio time, they go in ready to go so that they can get everything, down pretty quickly and move along with the project to keep their costs down on recording. So if they go in there with a budget in mind, they're already thinking about how much time they can spend in the studio to record their songs based on, their daily or hourly rate that they're getting in the studio. So it's always on the back of a real musician's mind. Well, there is no studio time for the AI musician because the AI musician can just sit behind their keyboard and punch in a bunch of code or use an AI program to teach the AI program what they want it to write in the way of music. So, the coaching could go something like this. Now, if Brent was on here, I'm not sure if Brent is, but if Brent goes on here at some point, I hope he makes a comment about this because I believe AI generated art to support the visual aspect of selling the song or showing the visual about what the song is about. It's an enhancement. It's designed to work along with, but not replace the artist's music, but only to enhance it through the creation of visual art that typically doesn't have a copyright concern. So then people could use it to create videos and not have to worry about copyright, so long as because it's a different AI image is created and it's based on millions of variables. Brent was telling me how difficult it is to get AI to do what you want from a visual standpoint. I can imagine that there are now programs out there that are getting better and better at learning about what you want. So say, give me a hit song, give me a hit country song. I want it to be 3 minutes and 20 seconds long, or whatever I think that the radio standard is going to be to get me a lot of radio play. And I want it to appeal to a primarily female audience. You don't think that AI can do that? Well, I believe it can. I believe that AI is learning at lightning speed, and people are getting better and better at coaching AI to do what they want. So AI generated music has an ability to go beyond some of our discerning spectrums in terms of listenability and go, I don't know if that's real or not. It's the same as this band I discovered. They sound very much like the Velvet Sundown, and the images, the AI generated images of both of those particular acts look very similar to me. So when I look at it, I go, wow, there's striking similarities between some of these AI generated videos. There's variations on it too. So you can coach AI to give you a variant on a visual image. So let's say you're creating a visual image for a band. And that visual image of the band is based on a bunch of coaching, right? So if it's based on a bunch of coaching, you can advance what AI is able to do, and you should be able to coach AI to write you music that is appealing to a primarily female audience. Now, those of you that, remember this used to be sort of a industry sort of talk, but the old saying was, if you want to bring the dicks, you bring the chicks. Now, that was one of the sayings back in the day. So have music that appeals to primarily a female audience, and they'll introduce their boyfriends to you. And now you've got a male and a female fan, an even split in terms of, and here's the great thing about this, is that sometimes at those events, people meet for the first time at those musical events, and the music that's being played at those musical events inspires people, right? So I just think when we get back to this whole AI thing, you look at these striking images of these bands that appear to be AI. I don't know if they are, right? I can't prove that they are. I can't prove that they aren't. What I can tell you is that when I try to research them, I try to research the lyricists, I try to research anyone that's giving music credits, and it all brings me back to one place. And again, that one place is not on Wikipedia. It's not anywhere else on Google. There's one Google search for it and one Google search only, which is really kind of weird. You only get one Google search that returns this particular name. So again, there's a red flag for me. I go, is this real, or is it an AI generated thing aimed at deceiving people into thinking it's real artists and real music, and they're not going to disclose it? So I don't know. I mean, and it's getting so good that it can deceive the human ear, because again, AI can be coached to provide music, to create music that captures all of those things that you try to capture as an artist. So give me music that's got passion to it. Give me music that would engage the listener. These are things you can coach AI to do. It's not something that you can do specifically with your own music, because your own music is an expression of your soul. It's an expression of you, or maybe your life experience, or how you see the world. As an artist, artists often write about those things. Sometimes they write about other things that are fictional relationships, and it depends where they want to go artistically with their music. But AI is able to listen and learn from its coach, which is a human. So AI is not infallible. It's fallible because it's human coached. So it's capable of making some human errors, I believe, if coached correctly, which means that you can add ingredients into that mix when you're coaching AI to make music and go, all right, so I've already asked my AI program that's helping me create music, give me a hit song. That's maybe my first coach. And then I want it to be 3 minutes and 20 seconds long. Okay. Then I want it to appeal to a primary female audience, and it needs to evoke feeling and, a sense of sadness or loss, right? So these are things that you can coach AI to do. And the sad part about it is that there are human factors that are coming into this that can deceive people. And without a disclosure, you would not know whether this is AI. Like I say, go check these guys out. They're called The Velvet Sundown. 2 albums released before they admitted that they weren't even real. This is all AI generated music. There's a song on there called Dust on the Wind. It's got 2,506,749. That's right, 749 streams, right, on Spotify. And let me see, when was this released? latest release album. Let's see if this is the one. No, this is a new one. So this band, the Velvet Sundown, has released 3 albums this year. 3 albums worth of music, and we're talking like 13 tracks per, I think. Let me see if there's more here. Oh my God, this gets really deep as you start looking at this and you go, what are we talking about here? Yeah, 13 tracks on album 1 and album 2. Let's see, album 3. Yep. June 30th, 2025, this album came out. And they're called Dust. They're called the Velvet Sundown, and this is called Dust and Silence. And they're already generating hundreds of thousands of streams. 667,000 monthly listeners. That's absolutely bonkers. I can't believe that there are that many people following them, and they put out 3 albums this year. So if you're really following this band, or it's just coming up in your algorithmic playlist, I'm not exactly sure. I'm thinking with that many streams, and with it being AI, and being the fact that AI tends to pick up trendy things, is there an AI advantage now? Right? So if you're creating AI music and you're putting AI music on Spotify, which uses artificial intelligence to push music out to listeners, is there a double-edged AI advantage to be publishing AI music on Spotify, given that Spotify's algorithmic playlists and all stuff like that comes off of AI suggestions and other things that are part of Spotify's platform? So the cool thing about that is that it does provide more reach, more opportunity for artists than was previous. And the cool thing about that is that, again, there's that aspect of reach, discovery, and engagement. So that reach and discovery kind of go hand in hand, because discovery can come in a whole lot of different ways. So as an artist, you can use AI. I think it's appropriate to use AI to enhance what you're doing. If you're using it to create visuals and stuff like that, so you're trying to avoid having to deal with copyright, or you're having to deal with things like copyright strikes, all that kind of stuff, and you're looking to create some original content that you can claim as yours because you used AI to create it, and you're paying for a program that does it. So by doing so, you're granted license to use that AI as a visual enhancement. And so I believe that there are some places where AI can be used to help enhance what an artist is doing. Should it replace what they're doing musically? Well, that is a really difficult question. It is an ethical question, because AI, you can write some pretty scary, great music using AI. If you don't believe me, go and check out these guys. They're called the Velvet Sundown. They're on Spotify, and they're an admitted AI entity, and they put out 3 albums in 2025, 39 tracks already this year. So that I find a little bit crazy. So the first album came out June 20th of this year. The second album came out June 5th of this year. And the most recent one came out July 14th of this year. So in less than 2 months, we've got 39 tracks being released by the Velvet Sundown. So either somebody's been working really, really hard for many, many years and just all of a sudden deciding to, flood the market with their music, or is this AI? Well, we've learned that that's not longer a question. The Velvet Sundown has admitted to saying that they are and AI creation. And you can find that article in July 14th. What would you call that? The Guardian. So go to the Guardian and search for this article. And I posted it up there. I don't. I'll put it back up right now. So if you just Google this, an AI generated band got 1 million plays on Spotify. Now music insiders say people should be warned. So if you were to Google search that, just copy that and paste that from the chat or off my screen, or just write it down, and take a look and see. This band should pop up in the article that is in the Guardian, should pop up. It's got a blue header, and it'll say an AI generated band got 1 million plays on Spotify. Now music insiders say listeners should be warned. So, that is informed consent. You're asking people to become involved with your music. Is there an obligation for you to disclose it? I mean, typically flesh and blood artists disclose it by saying, who played the bass guitar, who played the drums, who sings, who writes the lyrics. All of those credits are posted on any place the music is published, if it's published appropriately. So that would be really an important thing to know, that when you're looking at AI music, that there are disclosures that allow you to make an informed decision about what it is you're listening to, instead of being deceived into thinking it's something real when in fact it's not. And then again, following a non-flesh and blood artist, I would contend, is a whole lot different than following a flesh and blood artist you can actually interact with, and some of them that actually come on my podcast and take questions from the audience, those kinds of things, right? Those real things, those real life interactions, AI can't replace those things if they're a non-entity, if they're an AI generated entity. So again, I would contend there's a big difference between following artists, and you know what? There's nothing wrong with following these guys, right? Because if you listen to all 3 albums, it's getting better and better and better. They're not just pumping out music. They're actually probably, the AI program that they're working is probably learning at lightning speed. So, it learned from the first album, just like an artist learns from their first album. They go, oh, we'll change this next time on production. I don't like the way the drums are mic'd. There's a whole bunch of things there. Oh, and if you want to go to something really cool, go to Siegfried Meyer. Siegfried Meyer is on Facebook. Go to his Facebook profile. He is a great sound engineer. He knows more shit than most people. He's forgotten more shit than most people ever know about music production. And he put a really great post on there that would help, musicians that are recording on their own about drum mixing. And he gives some suggestions for drum mixing and then general mixing as a whole, and then says, hey, you can DM me, and he will book a private session with you and give you some really, really good insights about how to get better at getting the sound you're after. A lot of bands have complained to me when they're on their own productions that they struggle with getting really good sound on the drums. And that is one of the things that Siegfried, touches on his post on Facebook. So Siegfried Meyer, check him out. He is a cool dude. He's actually very chill. And I actually met him in person. He's very engaging, and he's always willing to share really cool stuff. Siegfried, Siegfried, is Siegfried Meyer, Meier, and he's on Facebook. Check him out. He's a public dude. He I'll post it in here, um, and see if I can display it on here. There it is right there. There you go. There's the HTTP address for Siegfried Meyer. He can tell you a lot of stuff, and he often will do, you know, paid consultations to help people with their mixes. Some of it, just like he posted on his Facebook feed, he posted some really, really good stuff on his feed, and you need to go there and make a comment. He even talks about, he's using less plugins and using more analog in his mix all the time. He says he's moving backwards. So here's a great guy to follow. I always like to put plugs in for people that I think are doing really, really great things. And Siegfried is doing some really, really great stuff in the world of music production. And he says in here, this is 1 day ago, he says, the more analog I mix, the less plugins I find I'm using. Things come together faster, sound better, and are thicker and fuller and more realistic sounding. So he's talking about the hollowness that exists within digital audio workstations that doesn't necessarily live in good analog mixers. It's not surprising, but it's definitely something we've all forgotten about as we dive deeper and deeper into digital audio workstations and the digital world. Every day I'm moving further and further back in time, and it sounds awesome. So here's a guy that's moving more and more back into the analog world of recording and finding great rewards in the warmth that comes from great analog recording, because you can't replace great analog recording. There's a warmth to it. And when you listen to it on vinyl, you can tell the difference between something that's being produced digitally. However, I'll add this caveat. There are great guys out there who take digital audio and do some great mastering for vinyl. Harry Hess being one of those guys. Check him out. Harry Hess, he does mastering for vinyl, and he does a phenomenal job. He has a really good workflow and theory about mixing. I'd like to get him on the show sometime and to talk about how he masters tracks specifically for vinyl, because he has a very specific workflow and process that he walks through when he does it. And Siegfried would be a great guy to have on the show. And I'd love to have him on here to talk about. So maybe we'll get him on. Maybe he'll be willing to come on the show, because, maybe because I'm giving him like a plug here. Beach Road Studios, check them out. If you've never checked out Beach Road Studios, and you're in southwestern Ontario, up in the Goderich area, great place to visit. We went there just as a show up. I messaged him and said I'm going to go up to your studio to visit you guys. He's like, yeah, come on by, drop by. So check this out. I'm going to post a link to his Facebook page for his. I'm going to post it here, and you can go to that link, and it'll take you to Beach Road Studios on Facebook, and then you can follow him wherever. He's got a significant other, Harley Olivia, who is putting out some great music, and they play live at a whole bunch of different things as well. So this is a guy who is an excellent producer, excellent engineer, and also a kick-ass musician. So that is a cool thing about this dude. He has lived it all and really does understand the value of the human factor in making music. So I think he should come on the show and talk about this. We should have maybe a lively debate about it. Maybe if anybody else wants to join us online, they certainly can. We could certainly have a lively discussion about AI and its, are there practical applications for it or not? I, on one hand, believe that AI visuals can be used to enhance the audio that an artist has already created and not really violate that whole creative piece, because now you can create without having to pay big money to make a video for your song. And you can make a creative art video to complement your song using AI. Now, some will argue that that puts videographers out of business. And I'd love to hear videographers. I'd love to hear their take on the use of AI to create visuals that normally you would hire audio visual guys to come in and film and sequence and put together a video for release for you. But we're talking about, big budgets to create videos, and a lot of artists are starving, don't have the money. So there is an ethical decision that's made and go, yeah, but if I use AI to create this, it's not going to cost me much more than the AI program to create the video because I already own the audio. And if I use something that I can copyright for the video because I'm using AI to create it and I'm paying the licensing to do that, then I'm licensing the image. And by being able to use that, and a lot of those sites have disclaimers saying you can use this for creating, your own videos. I think the creators of this AI program want people to explore and use it for whatever means they deem necessary. I don't know that they're ever going to put any kind of, guardrails around this. I mean, there's a little bit of danger that goes along with this AI stuff because it can go, my concern is it could go to the point where it could, hurt real artists in both areas, like both music areas as well as visual areas. So visual arts creators that do videos for bands that now could save tremendous amounts of production dollars on using AI to sell their product. So is there, and now the AI can also be used to generate different images. And you saw in Brent's video where it animated still photos and actually made them move. And we've seen AI doing that on Facebook and other platforms. So we know that AI has several different uses. We've seen AI, where it shows the aging process of certain artists, all that kind of stuff. Well, we're coming down to the wire here, 59 minutes and 16, 17 seconds or so. And I want to wrap this up by just saying, this AI discussion ain't over. I'm hoping to have some people on the show. We will continue the discussion. But before I do, follow the Velvet Sundown. Check them out. 3 albums this year, all within a couple of months. And then there's another artist. Check them out. They're called Motel Flame. You can find them on Spotify. It's well-produced music. I don't know if it's real or not. I can't find evidence that there are flesh and blood people behind this. That's all I can tell you. Well, that's it for tonight's show, everybody. I am going to say peace out. Have a great one. Have a great rest of your week. And remember, I'm Kenny, and you're not. Have a great end of your week, everybody.